Well, good morning guys and girls. Welcome back to the spare room. This should be, I think, the last video to get this little treadle lathe up and running and finished. It's starting to look pretty good, but the last real job is to make one of these. This is an odd thread. It's not a huge deal, and I reckon it's forged up out of a piece of solid and it's turned and threaded. I'm not sure how they made this, but I'm just going to silver solder one up out of 2 bits. I'm going to get a piece of rod, and I've got a bit of 1/4 inch reasonably soft steel rod, and I'm going to butt it up to a piece of steel or brass flat or whatever I can find, and I'm going to silver solder them together and file it up and drill 2 holes in it and sort of see if I can get something that looks pretty much like this does, which doesn't have to be particularly pretty, but we'll see how we go. I've gone to the trouble of finding a button die, which is not that one. It's this one here, which is 1/4 by 24. This is an unusual thread. I believe that it was used in motorbikes, English motorbikes, and probably guns many years ago. But it's also used in some tools, and it's probably quite a common miller's falls thread. And probably the best way to do this is to thread it and part it off to length and set it up on the hearth with a spacer's patch and braze them together, and we might have to run a thread over it again just to, if our silver solder gets all over everything. So I've just braze welded this up with some hard bronze, which is a BOC product. It's just a flux coated bronze rod. You've got it nice and hot and everything's nice and clean. The important thing about bronze welding is not to have any paint or scale under anything. If everything's nice and clean, it will usually take pretty nicely if you get everything hot enough. So I'm going to quench that out, and next job is to file that up and just tidy it up, and we should have a thumb wheel that looks pretty good. So this is the new thumb screw, which looks pretty good really. It's a fairly useless arrangement. I've painted these up and I've put some filler in them and got them looking pretty good. Having a new lathe, and especially something like this, is a whole new list of problems as far as mounting up cameras, but this tool rest here is quite long. It's about 10 inches, which isn't particularly useful. For between centres work it is, but if you're doing bowl work or egg cup work or something screwed on a faceplate, you want something that will slide around sideways, and this one won't. Probably originally it had a little single-sided one of these, about that long, which is what it needs, and I have to think about making one of them up. Probably I'm just going to put a bit of round bar across with a rod on it, and it only needs to be about 3 inches long perhaps, and that'll do the job. But I have put an insert in there, and I've made a new thumb wheel. I haven't painted it all up yet, but that'll happen. It's something that's going to take a while for this good paint to dry. Faceplate's back on it, and we're about ready to do some work. Could make a file handle with that. The thing that it does need though is some sort of drive dog, and probably I'm just going to get a nut and put a bit of a knife edge or a couple of points or something on here to drive it. It screws on afterwards. That might be the best way to do it. It'll be a very, very simple arrangement if we do make something. So I think that's the next bit to make, and then we can start using the lathe. So last job with these, give them a coat of paint, undercoat and top coat. And this isn't going to be dry for a couple of days because this enamel's a bit like that. So I might upload this, say thanks for watching, and thanks for commenting and subscribing. Appreciate your feedback, and more soon. Be kind to each other.